So you have an iPhone 15 that you're trying to sell. The iPhone 17 is same price or sometimes even cheaper. Recently, I realized a lot of brand new condos, right? New facilities, new lease, right? And even got developer warranty. These condos are selling cheaper than resale older condos nearby. How is this possible? Like newer but cheaper. If you want the honest truth of how harmonization can save you 300,000 or more, keep watching this video. Otherwise, skip this video if you want sales stock. Welcome back to another episode of Haikal and Titus Honest Truth HTHT.
If you enjoy our content, remember to like, share and subscribe. It really helps us continue producing more honest content for you guys. And also don't forget to scan our QR code. So if you have clicked into this video, it will have meant that you are also interested to find out more about harmonization and how does it affect you as a buyer in 2026.
I'm not sure about you, Haikal, but have you ever noticed something weird in the market today?
What is happening, Titus? Like, what do you mean by something weird happening in the market?
You see, recently I realized a lot of brand new condos, right? New facilities, new lease, right? And even got developer warranty. These condos are selling cheaper than resale older condos nearby. How is this possible? Like newer but cheaper.
Okay. So I get what you mean. So if you have noticed this similar trend like Titus, right? This is where we will be explaining one key reason behind this pricing shift in today's market. And this is basically the difference between harmonized and non-harmonized condo projects.
So what we'll be discussing today is what does harmonization mean? What's the difference? And most importantly, how does this affect your buying wallet? So if you're buying your first condo, upgrading from HDB or even investing, this episode is super important for you. Because some of you might hear the word harmonization and think it's got to do with feng shui, but it's not.
Yes, it is not. So basically, what harmonization means in property terms, it refers to the way developers measure the strata area, especially the treatment of spaces like aircon ledge, your planter boxes, bay windows, and your strata void, those high ceiling areas. Right. So to put it simply, harmonization projects nowadays, it means a more efficient and cleaner space without taking into account aircon ledges, bay window, and high ceiling. On the other hand, non-harmonized projects, basically the old style where floor area can conclude more bonus but not usable space like aircon ledge and high ceiling areas. So in a nutshell, harmonized projects tend to have higher PSF as compared to non-harmonized project. So on paper, right, Titus, harmonized project might look really bad because they are smaller in size and looks more expensive due to higher PSF.
Yeah, and also just to clarify, right, harmonization project, which is the more efficient layout, right, would only apply to government land sales probably from the mid of 2023 onwards. Anything that was sold before that is actually on the older kind of scheme, and of course en bloc projects, because it's freehold and the land has been sold like many years back, they will not fall under this harmonization scheme.
Correct.
So if you're confused, don't worry, you can just scan our QR code and we will help to clarify your doubt. Right? So we want to actually simplify this idea easier with a floor plan that you can easily visualize. So right now, let's take a look at this resale 3-bedder at Twin View. Right? You can take a look at the size is 904 square feet. If you look at this layout, some will say that this is not a very efficient layout because if you look at the entryway into the unit, right, it's very long, right? You kind of can play bowling there, and then you can't really place a proper dining into the dining area. The location is a bit weird lah, if you ask me. And the open kitchen concept, right, for a 3-bedder, which is not ideal because 3-bedder usually people like an enclosed kitchen.
Correct. So next we take a look at a newer harmonized project that is across the highway from Twin View called Faber Residence, which launched in 2025. So first impression, right, people will think, wow,
small,
super small, because 797 square feet, not even 800 leh.
Yeah.
So if we do think back a few years ago, we have seen non-harmonized projects such as One Holland Village, where 797, the same size, gets you only a 2-bedder. So how is it possible that a 797 in today's context gets you a 3-bedder?
Yep.
So do remember 797 does not include aircon latch, as this is harmonized. So 797 is purely everything that's inside the unit and it's all livable space.
If you look carefully, right, this Faber Residence 797, right, the layout has an enclosable kitchen as compared to Twin View, which doesn't have, right? The entryway is just right, not too long, right? And even along the entryway at the right side, you can have a small storage and pantry area lah. So at the dining area, it is a designated dining area whereby you can fit easily a 6-seater, and all the rooms can fit a queen-size bed with side table. So on paper, if you put side by side, the difference between Twin View and Faber is Twin View is bigger by 110 square feet,
Quite big.
which is maybe you can have an extra bedroom.
Correct.
But Twin View at 904 square feet, right, is non-harmonized. So if you take out the aircon latch, right, the usable space probably is around 840.
Yep.
Right? So even with 840 of so-called livable space, right, you can see the efficiency of how you do your day-to-day life, right, might not be as efficient as Faber 797.
Correct. Faber is much better. So this is where we see the shift in developers building more efficient and cleaner layout as compared to previously due to harmonization. So this is where I think most buyers get confused, right? Wow, new launch nowadays so small, right? But actually many are harmonized.
Yes. So I think one best example is like we use handphone, right? Now the iPhone 17 is going to be more expensive.
Correct.
Maybe a lot more compact.
Yep.
Right? As compared to an iPhone 15, right, which is probably not so relevant in today's context. It's going to be cheaper. But if you are buying a phone, right, would you go for iPhone 15 or iPhone 17?
Yep.
Of course, if budget is an issue, maybe you have to consider iPhone 15.
Yes.
But in terms of efficiency, capability, and maybe, let's say, future value,
Yep.
iPhone 17 would then be more applicable in today's context.
So get the latest model. So now if you're comparing new launch, so if you are a buyer in today's market and if you're comparing new launch, harmonized to resale, non-harmonized, you must adjust the way you think. Don't just compare based on square feet and PSF. You have to compare based on livability and also the layout efficiency. So this is why we always tell our clients a good 797 square feet might look super small but can feel like a 980 square feet in today's market.
So typically, I will encourage clients, don't just look at the square feet and say no lah. Step into a show flat and take a feel of the space, right? And then you might be surprised.
Yeah, many are surprised once they step in and feel, wow, it's much bigger than what they expect. Right, so now we get to the juicy part of this whole video.
Wow.
Because harmonized units have cleaner area computation, the PSF can look higher. But surprisingly, the overall quantum of pricing can be more affordable. So what do we mean by this, right? So for example, going back to Twin View against Faber Residence, so Twin View in 2025 was sold for 1.76 million, which brings to a PSF of 1947.
Yep.
So remember, this is a non-harmonized project. Okay. On the other hand, Faber Residence, the harmonized project, the PSF range for 797 was around 2206 to as low as 1976 PSF. So to sum it up, right, at 2206 PSF for Faber, the price is 1.757. And if the PSF was 1976, the price was 1574.
So buyer will look at the PSF and say, wow, 2002 for the Faber Residence, very expensive, right? But if you think about it, right, Twin View sold at 1.76
Correct.
resale. So for Faber, right, you realize that the 797 layout, right, even though PSF seems high, it has transacted at 1.57 to 1.76. And Twin View actually transacted at 1.76. So if you were to buy 1.76 Faber versus 1.76 Twin View, you realize that you're getting something newer for the same price.
Correct.
So if your ballot number is good, you can even save 100 to 200,000, right, as compared to Twin View at 1.76. Because Faber, the lower tiering is 1.57.
Now this is what we call a safe buy in today's market, basically. So this is where we observe another shift in buyers' behavior where more and more buyers in today's market are very, very price sensitive.
Yes.
So in real life, buyers will decide based on quantum affordability, right? And in this case, like what we have seen, if let's say the new is cheaper than the resale, definitely more and more buyers are going to purchase the new development.
Yes.
And this is only for one project. And we notice where the new launch is cheaper than resale.
So guys, not every new launch compared to resale have this kind of behavior and
Correct.
characteristics. We have actually spent time to go and deep dive and share some examples, right, whereby the new and the resale prices, right, is the same or even cheaper.
Yes.
But of course, there are new and resale, which is the new is more expensive lah, which is normal.
Yep.
Right. So I think we want to go through some examples that we have today based on why you should consider the harmonized and the newer layout and how it can save money for you.
Right. So Titus, what have you found out and what can you share?
First thing first, all these are transacted units, means all this price has already been done. It's
So-
not like speculation.
Yep.
The first one that we want to bring ourselves to is at District 15, Tembusu Grand, which is non-harmonized versus Emerald of Katong, which is harmonized.
Yep.
So Tembusu Grand just attained TOP, right? And right now there are still 1 plus study unit for sale.
Yep. So, but if you are on the fence about buying their 1 plus study, hold on first, because the information that Titus is about to share might change your mind. But if you guys are still unsure, just scan our QR code and we will share more with you guys on our opinion and analysis on Tembusu Grand 1 plus study.
So if you were to take a look at these two examples between Tembusu Grand and EOK, the 1 plus study, right? You can realize that, okay, Tembusu Grand, the 1 plus study is 527 square feet and Emerald of Katong is 484. So
Yes.
maybe like 40 square feet lesser.
Yes.
But that probably accounts for the aircon ledge.
Yep.
Livable space, I would say, is more or less the same. But if you were to look at layout, right, Tembusu Grand, you can see the kitchen, right? It's really a galley kitchen, whereby once you walk in, right, the kitchen is along the corridor. Whereby Emerald of Katong, the kitchen is kind of like there's a recess area, right? So you won't feel so tight when you come into the kitchen. The second thing about this layout is you realize that the living area of Tembusu Grand, right, is actually a lot smaller than Emerald of Katong.
Yep.
Because you just see the sofa and the TV panel, right? Tembusu Grand, you can only fit a 2-seater sofa.
Yep.
Whereby EOK, I think easily you can fit a 3-seater. And your TV can be bigger lah.
Yep.
Right? The other main difference, of course, very small difference, is the transacted price between Emerald of Katong and Tembusu Grand. Remember, Emerald of Katong is newer.
Yes.
It actually transacted 20,000 for the same floor unit, 19 floor unit, cheaper than Tembusu Grand. Right? So, if you are looking for something of this nature, right, in this instance between Tembusu Grand and Emerald of Katong, it seems like harmonization will then make a lot more sense for
Correct.
your budget.
Yes. So next we will compare Riviere against Zyon Grand. Both these projects are over at River Valley.
Yes.
So Riviere, if you can see, is 818 square feet and it's actually a 2-bed, 2-bar with a very narrow storeroom. But for 721 at Zyon Grand, almost 100 square feet difference. But the 721 is actually a 2 plus study, which means it gives you more flexibility to use the study either as a study as it is or a storeroom like Riviere.
So Haikal, you see, people always have this impression that harmonized the PSF is higher.
By right, yes.
So for this Riviere and Zyon Grand, which Zyon Grand is the harmonized project, it seems like the PSF is much lower than Riviere.
Yep. So now you see, due to the harmonization, right, the size of a 2 plus study is only at 721 square feet. Then you combine with the lower PSF like what you have mentioned. Now Zyon Grand, being the new guy, a better layout is 300k cheaper than the resale.
So you have a dumbbell layout, more efficient, you have an extra study, but only transacted at 1.945, whereby Riviere resale transacted at 2.250. So to make sure that we are fair for our analysis, we use the same level units.
Yep.
We are not using one low floor, one high floor just to skew the data. We want to be really very fair. 6th floor unit versus harmonized in Zyon Grand, the transacted price is 300,000 more for the non-harmonized.
Yes.
Which is like, wow, you buy something older, you pay more. Like, will you pay iPhone 15 for more than an iPhone 17? I don't think so.
Don't make sense. Really
Yeah,
don't make sense. So this is what we call a steal in today's property market, right? So yet again, if you guys are looking out for such bargains out in this market in 2026, scan our QR code, then we will share more with you guys on where we can find such discount in today's market.
So moving on to our last layout, which is a 3-bedroom analysis of harmonized, non-harmonized. We are going to Clementi, whereby we will compare Clavon versus Elta, right? Same thing, level 13 unit for both comparison. Clavon is at 1130 square feet versus Elta at 1023 square feet. A difference of maybe 100 square feet, which kind of like is the aircon ledge. You can realize in terms of pricing, Elta, which is 5 years younger, costs only 22,000 more.
Correct.
So Haikal, can you share with us a little bit about this layout and how probably Elta is more efficient in terms of their layout?
Correct. So I think for both, in a nutshell, it looks very similar, but it's down to the small details, right? So for Elta, you can see it's a dumbbell unit. So basically, you save on the corridor space.
Yes.
Right. So with this corridor space, what has happened is if you can take a look over at the kitchen area, Elta does have a yard, which Clavon is missing.
Yes.
And we do feel like for a 3+ study, in today's context where it's more for own stay, a yard is super important.
You must have a dedicated laundry area lah.
Correct.
If not, you spend so much on the balcony, then you hang your laundry in the balcony.
Yeah, so you have to carry your laundry from the kitchen all the way to the yard, which might not be convenient for a day-to-day thing lah. Then because of this dumbbell layout, bedroom 3 is ensuite.
Yes.
So this can be like a guest bedroom or for your parents, where it is much more convenient for them. They don't have to keep walking back and forth.
Yes.
Next is a yard area.
Yes.
So for a 3+ study, own stay usually, we do feel a yard area is super important, which is lacking in Clavon.
Yeah.
So basically for Clavon, if you do your laundry, most likely they have to hang their clothes in the balcony.
Yep.
So every day you have to carry back and forth, which is a bit tiring lah. But for Elta, you can see there is a designated yard area. You can put your stegen or whatever you want. Everything, laundry is stuck in the kitchen.
And most importantly, you're buying into something younger on
Yes.
top of the layout efficiency that Haikal has mentioned.
So if you are a resale seller, right, I'm sure you have noticed the resale market is very slow these days. Right, not many viewings, offers are also not there. So this is one of the main reasons why, because buyers realize the new launch are cheaper than resale.
So you have an iPhone 15 that you're trying to sell. The iPhone 17 has been launched.
Yes.
The iPhone 17 is same price or sometimes even cheaper. So of course, buyers who are looking, they might just want to take a look at the iPhone 17 first.
Yep. So sellers out there, remain patient. I'm sure you guys can sell your units slowly in the market.
So does it mean that you can just close your eyes, listen to Haikal Titus and just buy the harmonized unit? Don't care about the non-harmonized unit, right? The answer is a straight off no. Because it's not so simple that you just buy based on harmonized. There will be situation whereby non-harmonized makes a lot more sense, which we'll be sharing more in the next episode about why sometimes non-harmonized project makes more sense than harmonized project.
So thank you for watching today's episode. If you have liked the content, do like the video and on the notification alert so you know when the next episode will be out. Thanks for watching this episode of Haikal Titus Honest Truth.
HTHT. See you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.